Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. This is Smart Business Move. Our guest today is Jason Cupp, and Jason brought some team members with him. Um, Liz isn't going to be able to make it today. She's kind of tied up, had some things pop up this afternoon. Is going to keep her keep her out of commission for Smart Business Moves today, but that's okay because we've got a lot of help here. Jason, how are you?
I'm great, Tom. This is a really kind of fun, exciting time of year for us. It's supposed to be a little bit slower for us, but it is not slow at all. We are incredibly busy, which is great. We're grateful for that. I think this is my third time that I've been on Smart Business. I believe third time. Is that right?
I believe it is. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the opinion that that business just continues to grow and get bigger, even in light of some of the most recent, as of today, headlines that CPI and inflation number keeps rising and all that good stuff. I mean, gosh, for the people that we're working with, their businesses are growing, they're scaling, they're adding clients, and that means that they need people. So it's kind of an exciting time, but we got a lot we got a lot going on. We don't sit around and pop bonbons very often during the day.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before we went on the air that the whole consumer price index thing, they announced that again this morning,
Hmm.
8.3%.
Right.
That means prices are continuing to go up at a rather rapid clip. Um, Predictions are that gas prices are going to continue to go up this summer for a number of reasons.
Right.
I was talking to a friend earlier this week who's in the food service business here in Charleston, and there's some restaurants downtown that the labor situation is so short that some nights they're paying dishwashers anywhere to 40, sometimes up to $60 an hour just to get dishwashers.
That's insane. Yeah,
And
we've definitely heard some of those same statistics, that just what's happened, and I think we've talked about this previously when I've been on the show, is that what business owners have done in almost every segment, they've taken the opportunity with all of this to inch their prices up as their costs are rising. But then what they've been able to do, to your point about your friend with the restaurant and food service, is they've been able to pass some of that price increase on to their team members. And so we're seeing base wages for team members increase just as a natural progression of that phenomenon, which is great. I've always been in favor of what I call right sizing the wage that people in the industries that we serve are paying their employees. So we're all for that. Absolutely.
yeah, and a few months ago, I guess it was in March, Target came out with an announcement that they were raising their minimum wage in some locations up to $24 an hour.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that got started. Gosh, I want to say it was 3 years ago, Tom, where Amazon, I think, was the front runner in that. Cheryl, you might remember because I know we talked about it. They went from, I think, 12 to 15. And when they acquired Whole Foods, then that became a $15 starting wage in the grocery store segment. And that caused all grocery stores, who, as I think everybody on this call knows, is on razor thin margins, to have to bump their pay up. Otherwise, people were leaving grocery stores to go work for Whole Foods because they could work for Amazon essentially and get a level up in terms of pay. And that was way before COVID, where they said, hey, we want to attract the best talent that we possibly can. So we're going to level that up to $15 an hour. And I think that maybe Amazon is up to 16 or 16.50 now in terms of what they're higher than that, Cheryl. Okay, what you've got some good data. Maybe it should be a good idea rather than Tom and I talk.
Introduce your team, Jason. Hey, guys, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, you bet. So, typical me and Tom. We sit and we talk a lot. Sorry. This is Brian Spillman. Brian's on our team. Brian actually works in all of our Kolbe administration. Also works on the HR side of our business, and Cheryl is completely on the HR side of our business. So they're looking at resumes, hiring, doing phone interviews, doing background checks, hiring on an almost daily basis for our clients. And when Tom, when we talked about the topic of today's show being recruiting, Brian and Cheryl are living in that world every single day, and I thought they might have some good nuggets to share with us about those interviews and communications with people that they're looking at, and could be really beneficial to have them join us today. So I'm really excited to have Brian and Cheryl. They're on our team at Kincaid, and are working in that space every single day.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing the crew with you here, because this is an important topic, and this is like a really important place and time. And a lot of us have been running businesses for a long time, and things are relatively static. But the whole, ever since COVID, I guess we've been dealing with unprecedented events and issues. But gee whiz, we're with the labor market and inflation and everything else. What used to work doesn't necessarily work anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So what Jason was saying, I can kind of give you some more information. I was driving down the highway on a long trip, and this is in a rural area, not far from Kansas City, so like 45 miles south. And they had an advertisement, huge billboard on the side of the road for Chewy.com warehouse, $23 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Amazon is $21-ish an hour now. In our area. So the rate of pay that we are paying people is definitely going up. As you said, with the dishwasher story, $40 an hour to wash dishes is unthinkable. And no one probably ever thought in a million years that we were going to be paying anybody that. But you're desperate and you're in a restaurant and you've got all these people that want to come there and you can't find people. What are you supposed to do? Right.
What part of the country are you in, Cheryl?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in Kansas City, so we're in the Midwest.
Okay.
Where
it's not like you're in downtown Manhattan or anything.
Oh no, I am in normal everyday America.
Okay.
we are not in the very, very high cost of living area, but the fact is that there are people who are expecting more money, and they know they are a hot commodity. So they are going to try to get as much as they can. I read an article today about ghosting, where we all have heard that, right? Where you've set up an interview and someone just no call, no shows you, then you respond to them, and then they never get back with you ever again. And you're like, okay. Or it's worse now. Apparently, people are accepting jobs and then never showing up to the job. And then when you call them thinking we're all good, right? You're going to show up day one. You can't get a hold of them. They won't answer the phone. The email, they just completely ghost you now before they ever have an opportunity to no call, no show you. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
And are these jobs like, technician type jobs that we typically hire for a business? I mean, what type of positions are these?
It's all aspects. The article I read was office work, as well as the hospitality industry. Pretty much, it's hitting all industries. So because the rationale they gave is that the generation coming up is very, very comfortable with being ghosted or ghosting people on dating apps. So to them, it's not a big deal to just not show up, even though I said I was going to show up or whatever, which is totally not professional business etiquette. But this is what is real, people. This is what's happening now.
We were hiring for a client, and the salary range, let's call it between 80 and 100,000 a year, and Cheryl and I would get ghosted on a weekly basis. It was mind blowing to me. Still, right. And we would go so far as to use our own Calendly links and say, schedule with us. We'll let you decide, when you want to do this interview, and then they do that and then not show up. I mean, it is a different world we're living in.
And these were people, I guess, who sent you a resume that actually had professional experience, that had invested in their career, and they wouldn't have had that resume if they behaved that way all the way up to this point. So that's just hard to fathom that things can change that much.
It's true, though. It is unbelievable, but nobody thought we would be here 3 years ago, right? In this situation. So it is.
Well, and I think that so I've been doing hiring for, gosh, more than I want to admit. And this happened back then. I always kind of said, I was telling somebody earlier today that, hiring was tough 4 or 5 years ago. It got a lot tougher in COVID, and it's almost returned to some degree what it was pre-COVID. And so it just is amazing to me that there's qualified people. So on paper, they're qualified. They've got a great resume, work for good companies. And then they get to the point where they just don't show up for the first day of work, or they've got a face-to-face interview set up and they just don't show up. And we don't know what the motivation is, because I wasn't brought up that way. I don't think any of us were brought up that way. I mean, I would have gotten a lot of trouble if I did that, growing up. I grew up with a different level of ethics to be able to morally have a moral compass to not do that. But it is so common. And so, one of the strategies that we try to work through is to send them through certain checks as you go along, to reply to a certain email by a certain day, giving certain information. If they're unwilling to reply to an email in a timely manner, that's probably the way that they're going to handle their job. It's not going to be on time. They're going to procrastinate things. And that's not what any in modern business or people that we're working with want at any regard whatsoever in their business. So it's really interesting. The vibe that's out there is super bizarre.
So one technique that you can use as an employer is to try to create some challenges for that candidate to work their way through to prove that they're serious.
Yes, that's what I would do. I would definitely do that for anybody in any kind of office position, or like a customer service person on the phone, or anybody that has to answer clients in a timely manner, either by email, phone, or text, chat, whatever, or in person. Just for the fact that you want them to do things a certain way, right? You have policies that you like things to be done a certain way. So if I ask you to set up this interview using this link, do not email me back and say, when can I talk to you? Okay. I gave you specific instructions. I need to find out, can you follow instructions? This is why I'm doing this. To find out.
I guess the challenge is, or the problem is that I have some dogs misbehaving, excuse me. We talk about the JOLTS report every month, and that's like the number of job openings that are, in America and in the US, and there's like 11.5 million job openings. There's like 6 million people looking for jobs. So there's like 2 jobs for every person that's looking for work. So, you want to like vet people, and you want to do all these things to kind of filter out the people that aren't serious. But at the same time, you find yourself in a situation that you don't have any candidates at all to talk to. The human reaction is to reel back on that. It's like, well, maybe we shouldn't make this so hard.
Right. Well, I mean, when you're in a situation where you need a body, what are you going to do? I mean, you need a body, right? So unfortunately, you're right. There are a lot of jobs out there right now. However, to be honest, we went through that great resignation period where people were just quitting everything. People were fed up, scared. Who knows what the reason was or what their motivation was for just quitting their job. But people were just leaving it. And they weren't freaking out about repercussions or how they were going to get their bills paid or anything like that. They were just, I'm done with this. So what happens now, and what we are seeing is, yes, there's a lot of jobs out there. And to be honest, our clients have good jobs. They have decent benefits. They offer a great work culture. They pay very well for their market and their industry. And still we can't seem to attract people. And I think that what I have seen in the past, and just talking to younger people, let's go with, about these issues, is that they are not wanting to work physical labor, manual labor, anything like that, where they are face to face with a customer, where they are concerned they're going to contract some kind of illness. whether it be COVID or not. And so that is a big issue for a lot of people, is like, they may have loved their job. They may be the best server that ever lived, but they're scared about going back to work. Some of them are just worried about getting burnt out. Some of them have been burnt out and just exhausted because no one's ever showing up, right? So you got to take up the slack. And so they're tired of being burnt out and they're trying to go to a totally different industry. So, I mean, yeah, there's jobs there. There's millions of jobs there. But there are people who are not applying for these jobs, even though they need the skill set and could do the work.
Well, the thing I might add, and I've seen this, and I don't know, Cheryl or Brian, if you've seen it, or Tom, also, I know you're always hiring folks as well, is that we've got those folks that are taking, and I don't want to typecast somebody, but kind of a millennial attitude that they want flexibility of work hours. They want to be able to work remotely. They want to be able to do things kind of on their terms. They're committed, loyal employees when all of their check marks are checked. But if they're not checked, then they oftentimes are not interested in that long term. They're okay skipping around and jumping around in terms of jobs, which, I mean, I have had, I don't know, but I've had like 2 jobs in my entire life, or maybe 3, so, and I'm 49 years old, where most people have had 10 jobs or 12 jobs or 15 jobs because they just jump kind of looking for that utopian position. And sometimes, even though I know that money is money and money makes the world go round and people need the almighty dollar, I get it, I understand it. Sometimes money is not the motivating factor. It's the way that a job or a position or a career makes them feel and what the culture element is, more so than what the almighty dollar is, as long as their needs are met financially.
I would 100% agree with that. Culture's king right now. Like, people, I have heard the term work-life balance at least 50 times in the last 3 months on interviews.
Yeah.
People do not want to work like to death. They want to enjoy their time.
Yeah.
So we have done a really good job of painting a pretty bleak picture of what we're dealing with as aspiring employers, right?
Right. So, no lie. That's true. Sorry, but it's true.
It's also a change of mentality, and I'm going to tie this in with parenting. And people are going to say, "Wow, this guy's nuts." And Tom and Cheryl and Jason and I are roughly the same age. When we grew up, you'll do this because your father said so.
Oh yeah,
that was the mentality, and in a lot of ways, that was the mentality of a lot of bosses. Was because I'm the boss and I said so. The millennial generation, I'm not saying anything bad about them. They have created efficiencies that no one else has, that my hat's off to them. I will not slam a millennial ever. But that mentality has gone into the workforce of, no, I don't want to do that. And okay, you're the boss. You told me to do it. I don't care. And so I'm going to go somewhere else that has a better culture, where someone's not barking orders at me. Because those same people, if you said, look, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and here's why, 9 times out of 10 will do it. It's just bizarre how the two are so connected. Because we did things because our dad or mom told us to. We didn't need the logic. This generation really seems to need the logic.
The why. They want to know the why behind it.
They do. They want to know the why. And here's another thing. This generation and the one coming up after that, even the Zillennial people, are very collaborative. They are used to working with group projects all the time. They are used to working on a team. They like to do things as a team. They like to be recognized as a team. They want to work together as a team.
And, I've seen some like psychological studies about how to get people to do stuff that you want them to do. And a lot of times they've proven that, or at least there's studies that show that the why doesn't even have to make any sense. You can just give them a why, why, because it's really important. We need to do it is better than nothing at all, So, we're in a hurry, it's late, we've got to, there's always like a canned set of whys that don't really flesh things out very much, but a lot of times it'll move people better than nothing at all.
True.
So with this bleak picture, and it's 2022, and there's 2 jobs for every person looking for a job. This number, the job participation rate, is at all-time lows. What do we do? I mean, you guys are out there doing this every day. So let's share some hacks. Let's share some best practices in terms of, what do we do as people running cleaning business owners? How can we recruit talent that will come to work every day, that will come to an interview, won't ghost us, and will
We'll show up and work.
perform at a high level?
I have a handful of things, and I'll let Brian and Cheryl clean up what I'm getting ready to say, because I'm going to get way above the clouds. They might have some more tactical things to throw into the mix. But number one, I think that we really need to create an environment where we can be quick to hire, that we don't let people hang on to a string for very long. And so if someone that's great takes the time to apply, we need to respond to them quickly. We need to set up a phone interview or a face-to-face interview as quickly as we possibly can. And if they're the right candidate, we have to make an offer as quick as we can. If they're a great candidate, they're going to be gone to the next company in 2 days. And so we need to be quick. We need to be quick to market. We live in a world today where any of us and anybody that's watching this right now can order something on Amazon. Depending on what major city you're in, you can get it today or tomorrow without doubt. And so we live in this world where it's quick to market. So the first thing is quick to market. The second thing is that hiring is absolutely a full-time job. You need to constantly be leveling up your effort to hire and hire constantly. You have to be developing the bench, to use a sports reference, and you need to be a great coach with lots of strategy behind building that bench up to the best possible bench that you can create. And that doesn't involve a reactionary hire. It involves a proactive hire, meaning constantly refreshing your ads, revising your ads, putting them in lots of different places. Have your recruiting hat on a very regular basis. The third thing is you really have to know what you want. So many people say, oh, I want to hire a salesperson, but they can't put any brackets around that. What are they going to sell? What traits do they need? What experience do they need? Cheryl and Brian could probably go in and tell you stories where they're working with clients where they say, I just need a salesperson. I need somebody to come in and sell. But they can't really put brackets around what they absolutely need in a lot of detail. So it's harder to find somebody when it's a big, wide swath rather than a very acute swath. The other part about it, which still blows my mind, in 2022, is that I feel that great business owners spend tons and tons and tons of time creating client acquisition strategies. They have consultants, they have marketing companies, they're spending tons of money on Google AdWords and Facebook ads and SEO and building their website up, and they're having regular meetings and dashboards and all this crazy stuff to acquire the
elaborate campaigns that high levels of automation.
Absolutely, but they don't have that on the hiring side. They almost expect that they're going to go acquire all these clients, build all this revenue up, and then they're not developing strategy, processes, automations, budgets, hiring professionals, really making it an every single day strategy to go and acquire team members. And the thing that I back into kind of on the other side of our consulting company, on the financial side, is that we have things like CAC, client acquisition costs. We've got all of these categories on a P&L, and then recruiting is like $800 and I'm not suggesting you need to go spend crazy money on it, but you can go and sell it. A very wise person told me a long time ago that if you sell it, you have to produce it. If you don't produce it, you're not going to be able to sell it again. Meaning you got to build up your operations to be able to work through the client acquisitions to deliver the product that you're promising your client. And that requires recruiting and those processes. And it blows me away that that's not something that people are really kind of peeling down and say, what works for me? What works for me?
And review sites are such a big part of marketing at this point. And any house cleaning company, if they get like a bad review, the sirens go off and like everybody drops what they're doing and everybody starts freaking out. What are we going to do about this bad review?
Totally.
How many companies even think about Glassdoor and some of the other review sites for them as an employer? Is that, I think there's a large number of companies that's not even a consideration.
I totally agree with you. Someone who, like when someone leaves the company, are people doing exit interviews? Are they learning what they can do differently? I did an exit interview 10 days ago on Friday, and I learned so much about what this client could have done differently to cause that team member not to leave. Now, not all of it was self-inflicted. Not all of it was the client's fault. Some of it was the team member's fault. But they're 3 hours away from clocking out for the last time. They're kind of willing to say a lot, and I learned so much. And we're already putting what we learned into play in a feedback type of a situation to be able to correct that. And I think that having that strategy and understanding, just because an employee, especially a great employee, leaving is like a bad review. Brilliant, Tom, that you said that, because it is like a bad review. Why are they leaving? Is it pay? Is it culture? Is it compassion? Is it the job responsibilities? Is it stress? What is the reason that someone is going to leave the company? And when you know that, now you have the special sauce to go fix it so that other team members don't leave for the exact same reason.
Yeah. And I mean, certainly if you've got better retention, that takes a lot of pressure off the whole recruiting and hiring side. But if you've got people leaving for the wrong reasons, that's kind of like the whole word of mouth thing and bad reviews and everything else. You're going to have a harder time competing in the labor marketplace, I would think.
I would say that if I was going to be looking for a job today, I would automatically go check Glassdoor and see what the former employees said about a company. If it's bad, if their rating is bad, I'm not applying there. I don't want to work for jerky people. I'm just not. I couldn't do it.
So back to your point, Jason. I know a lot of companies spend a lot of time. They actually license software to reach out to their customers to encourage them to go to review sites and give them reviews. Should we be asking our employees to be doing the same thing?
Really good comment. I've never really been asked that before. What do you guys think, Brian, Cheryl? I mean, you're touching the team member, every day in the hiring process, sometimes in the departure process as well.
I love that idea. I think it's really good. It can give you I wouldn't say necessarily doing a survey or necessarily having people go out and fill out reviews, because you may not like what you find out, but doing like a Survey Monkey review where you have an anonymous, 100% anonymous review, third party, ask your people, get a temperature check on how they love their job. Do they like it? Do they feel underutilized? Do they love the culture? All the different things that we as business owners are trying to portray and make our company the best place for somebody who's looking for the job that we are allowing to have, would want to work there. I mean, that's easy. Those Survey Monkey things are not that expensive, and you can get a lot of good information.
I know a lot of companies train their office staff that every time they talk to a customer, the customer says, "You guys really did a great job at cleaning my home." The automatic response is, "Well, thank you, Mrs. Jones. We really appreciate that. We're a small company, and a lot of how we grow is through reviews. Would you mind going to Google and sharing that information?" So as talking to your employees and that work for you every day, and some of them hopefully are happy and like their job. And when you have an opportunity to say, "You know what, we're a small company, and a lot of what helps us find team members who embrace the same values that you and I do is through review sites like Glassdoor. Here's a link. Would you mind going there and telling Glassdoor how much you like your job?"
I think that people are afraid to do that, Tom, because they're afraid of the opposite. They're afraid of giving permission for someone to go and put a negative review up. So I can see both sides of it. I think most employers are hesitant to get critical feedback because they don't know if they can fix it, or they don't know if they can implement it, or they don't know if it's going to be a budget killer. And so I like the idea. I love getting feedback, because then I think that, what we don't know, we don't know. If we don't know, we can't fix it, right? And I think most great entrepreneurs that we're aware of want to go and fix it. They want to build the best team, the best business, the best set of financials. But if they don't know, they don't know.
Yeah. I see this time and time again that business owners are afraid to do things because rate increases, for example, business owners are afraid to do rate increases because they're afraid all their customers are going to quit.
Right.
And time again, it's been proven that they don't. I mean, you might lose one or two, a small percentage, but the amount of money that you're going to be generating off the rate increase for all the ones that take it more than make up for the difference. And it's like, well, I'm afraid to ask my customers for reviews because they might go to Google and say we stink. And
right.
Well, if they think that, then you probably wouldn't be in business anyway. I mean, it's head trash. It's a lot of head trash. You might have an employee that would flame you, but for every one of those, I would think that you would have 50 that would say decent things, if not great things about the job. If not, they wouldn't be there, especially in 2022. Why would anybody in 2022 stay in a job that they didn't like? It certainly wouldn't be because they didn't have other options. They could go downtown and wash dishes for $50 or $60 an hour.
You're right. You're right, Tom, because you're exactly right. At this point, we could probably, if every one of us posted our resume today, we'd probably have recruiters killing us with emails, trying to get us to come, and we wouldn't even be that serious, right? We're not serious. But the point is that there are so many jobs available to anybody. So if you absolutely hate your job, you're probably gone by now.
Right.
Or you're on the way out because you're probably getting fired because you hate your job so much and everybody knows it. So, it's one of those things.
Jason, Ola has a question for us here. Ola August has been a guest several times, number of times, and he's an awesome business owner up in Massachusetts. And he wants to know, when it comes to retention in a laborious industry, how do you handle that? I almost feel like there is a lifespan on team members on how long they can stay in the field. Good question.
I think it's a great question. And it's so fun for me because we've just recently reconnected, just like probably in the last maybe month or so. And so that's kind of fun to see him on the show today. So I would say that it really comes down to, there's the physicality of it, whether it's in house cleaning or other service industries where there's a lifespan of what the body will handle. And that's one thing. Obviously, if the body's, a little, I'll tell you what, I know none of us on this call getting any younger, and I creak a little bit more in the morning than I did 2 years ago and 5 years ago. So the body's part of it. But if it's just the fatigue of an ongoing job, I think that you can make a lot of wins by really focusing on culture and what team members really, really, really want and need. Years ago, I call it, maybe I've mentioned it on the show before, but it's called the fridge. And I've been talking about the fridge on stage and in educational events for probably 7 or 8 years now. And the fridge is peeling off some budget in your employee expenses and stocking a fridge at your shop or your warehouse with Gatorades and bottled waters and maybe snacks. Go to Costco or a Sam's Club and peel off $200 a month or $500 a month. When you really recognize what those team members want and what they need, and sometimes it's a Gatorade or an energy bar or something, and that might be one key thing to invest in culture. The other one that I think is really important, and the cost of this is really, really, really small. And I got to tell you, we saw this happen in COVID, is that there were a lot of people that we work with. This actually came out of one of our live events that we had probably 4 years ago, was the idea of getting some supplemental insurance plans, things like disability, some supplemental, not health insurance, but supplemental insurance that could be life insurance, that could be what is it? Aflac.
Yeah, Aflac type
You
plans. Yeah.
know, Aflac, when COVID hit, Aflac paid out a lot of people that had an Aflac plan because they couldn't work, because their job was temporarily paused or whatever. There's a lot of people that had that Aflac plan that have been paying in $12 a month or whatever it might be, that got a nice ROI on that insurance plan. And so I think that there's things that you've got to think about that are small items in the budget, but mean the world to your employees. Things like, one of the things that we did when, as I think Tom, and some people that are on the call know that I own the lawn care and landscaping company. And so, we had a large Hispanic workforce. So we celebrated Cinco de Mayo. We didn't celebrate 4th of July in our company. We would stop our company midday. Everybody would go home. They'd put on the biggest hats and big belt buckles and cowboy boots and come back to our office. And we didn't Americanize it. We asked them, and we would have an authentic Hispanic meal catered in our office. And these men and women that work for us, they bring their wives and their kids. And it was just like a culture, like blowout session in our office, because we were celebrating what they wanted to celebrate rather than what we wanted to celebrate. When you really get into the mind of your workforce and you really kind of understand what they want, whether that's, a random day off on their birthday, or that extra holiday off, or having a half day off before maybe Thanksgiving or something so they can travel to be with family and friends. Those small little things pay huge dividends in the asset of the team member, and they don't really cost a lot of money at the end of the day, but they get your employees to come back over and over and over again, because I guarantee you they're not going to get it down the street with the competitor, because that competitor is not going to think through the culturalization of those elements.
Are there any techniques you could share in terms of how to help, leaders and house cleaning companies get that type of information, get inside of their employees? I mean, I know there's a lot of, discussion trying to figure that out. And, the answer might be obvious, but I don't think it's obvious to everybody.
So I have a really great client. So I can't take credit for this one, but they did the simple ask them. They actually, in this past off season, I think it was maybe November or December, when things were a little bit slower for them in their business model, they actually sent out, to Cheryl's point, an anonymous survey. They put a box in the office, so it didn't have anybody's name on it. And they filled out a survey of what was most important to them in terms of benefits. And what we found was pretty staggering. So it was literally ask them.
Would that be a multiple choice or just a blank piece of paper? How would that work?
So what this company did is they actually went in and they thought through. We brainstormed the ideas of Aflac and the fridge and additional PTO day, a vacation plan, health benefits, life insurance, a handful of different things that they thought of. But then there was a blank line, kind of choose your own adventure, write something in the box. And what we learned was really, really, really interesting. What the team members at this particular company wanted is that they wanted some flexibility in taking 3-day weekends. That's really what they found, is they felt really confined to just having a Saturday or Sunday off, which did not allow them to take a 3-day weekend with family and friends, to leave on a Thursday night, come back on a Sunday night, to maybe go on a road trip or go see, people that were, 4 hours away or whatever. And it reminded me, when I saw that come back, there was an article that came out, I believe it was CBS Sunday Morning, it might have been 60 Minutes, but I think it was CBS Sunday Morning maybe 4 or 5 years ago, about the power of the 3-day weekend, about allowing employees to periodically have that 3-day weekend that's not a 3-day weekend that is tied to a holiday. That it's, maybe you get to choose 2 3-day weekends a year as an additional benefit that team members can take, so that they can have a little bit of time to re-energize and put the fuel in the tank for them to feel like they can take that time off. There were certain criteria, as you can imagine, like 2 team members couldn't take off the same 3-day weekend, and you can't over abuse it. I can tell you, so our company, which is a new kind of strategy that's out there. Our company has unlimited PTO. So our consulting company has unlimited PTO. So Brian and Cheryl and other team members can ask for as much time off. In fact, Cheryl will be out of town for one of her kids' graduations the next 2 days. And we're happy to, give it to her because Brian and I will be running the show along with our other team members. And that's completely okay. We've got a couple of criteria in there. But we do offer unlimited PTO, and that's a trend that's happening in some business. Now, I also understand some businesses can't do that, and so there needs to be some guideposts in there to make sure that people don't take advantage of it, and some criteria on the way that that's granted. But when you can find those small, teeny tiny little things that make a big difference to your team, they're going to stick around, and they're going to enjoy that, and they're going to love that because it provides them the flexibility.
The 3-day weekend, I think, is starting to, in some cases, just starting to be the expectation for every weekend. At least flex scheduling and stuff like that, and the whole, the deficit between the number of open jobs and the people looking for jobs.
Right.
Some of the things that used to be considered as, this is a really nice benefit, I think more and more is just kind of a basic assumption, and not to say that everybody's doing it, but I think more and more people, things are moving in that direction. The unlimited PTO, and that is paid PTO, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I've read a little bit about that, and I've seen some numbers that, where people actually take less time off under that situation than they do when they're earning, 3-4 weeks of PTO a year, that use it or lose it. And it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to take, these days off because, I'm going to lose it otherwise. Where if it's just unlimited, they take less time.
Right.
I totally agree.
Brian, Cheryl, you guys need to be taking more time off. You really do.
Okay, I'm doing it tomorrow. And then Brian's going to be gone the next week. So we're doing it.
And the magic it makes that work is you can take as much time off as you want, as long as the work that you're responsible for is being taken care of, right?
Right. Well, I will say that I've been in some other companies that have done unlimited PTO, and the way that they utilized that or kind of differentiated that from everybody was able to take it or not was that salaried employees were allowed unlimited PTO, but that non-exempt or hourly employees will not. So,
Right.
So that's one way. Like if you think that might be a great idea for some of your workforce, but not everybody, then that is an option. It's one way to go about it. What you had said about the 3-day work week, a lot of labor businesses are going to 4/10s. So doing 10-hour shifts a week, and then their people get Friday off, or whatever other day you pick, right, as your day. So that can be a great thing, because the longer people work and it's harder to get appointments, it's harder to go to the doctor, it's harder to go to the eye doctor, it's all of that because they only keep certain hours. And so giving someone another day, even if it's not even a whole day, even if it's a half day, like let's say you do like half days on Fridays or something, giving somebody another opportunity to know that every Friday morning I'm going to be able to, if I need to go somewhere and make an appointment, I can do it on those days, as opposed to worrying how they're going to fit it all into their schedule.
Well, and I would say I agree with everything Cheryl just said, but the other thing I would say is that if it's the right team member, which Brian and Cheryl are the right team members, is that, Cheryl's going to make sure that her inbox is cleared out. She's going to glance at her phone, in between things. Yeah, I mean, and I don't expect that, but I know she'll do it because she's a committed team member that's been around for what, 4 years now, this year?
It'll be 4 in August.
Right. So the right team members, Brian's going to be out next week, and he's going to be plugged in and checking his email and jumping on Zooms as he needs to. And even though we're out, we're still in, and I know that maybe that's a little bit unconventional, but the right team members do what is necessary, because it's much bigger, Tom, and you know this. I mean, it's much bigger than a job and a paycheck. It's a career, and it's a connection to the greater purpose of what you do. And when you do that, and you know that, and they're the right team members, they're really going to do what it takes to get the position done. And that is one of our, I saw Olu said, how do you manage the abuse, and that's the way you manage the abuse. The right team member actually isn't going to abuse it. And at the end of the day, although we have unlimited PTO, we definitely have guidelines. You can't just pop a PTO for tomorrow or next week. I mean, there's a pre-time period. We try really hard for all of us not to be gone at the same time. And if there's been missteps in job performance, the answer might be no.
Part of it is it has to be approved, right?
Oh,
absolutely. At the end of the day, I'm the one that approved those. We have a group calendar that it goes into. We make sure we're not stepping on other people's toes, and that's an important part of the process. It's not just like, hey, I want to take my unlimited PTO, and the Royals won last night, and so I want to take tomorrow off because maybe I have man flu or I had a late night or whatever it be. That doesn't work. That would be written up in our world. And so it has to be something that's premeditated, like Cheryl. Cheryl told us that Caleb was graduating like 3 months ago and said, here's the days I need to be off. Great, put it on the calendar, absolutely approved. But if Cheryl would say to me on, today, oh, by the way, Caleb's graduating tomorrow, I'd be like, Cheryl, man, where are you at in your workflow? What's going on? And so on and so forth. I don't know that I can do that because I'm finding out about it today for tomorrow, right? So that's the way you put guidelines up to make sure that there's compliance and that it's not abused.
Well, we are kind of in the home stretch here.
Mm-hmm.
Would like to take a minute, especially, since you've got Brian and Cheryl with you, to talk a little bit about your organization and the work that you do. And, you work with a lot of field service companies, house cleaning companies being part of them. And, part of dealing with this whole labor situation shortage that we have and this dismal picture that we painted earlier is to, get help. We don't have to figure it all out ourselves. And this is what you guys do for a living, right?
I hope so.
Okay, that's the goal. That's the plan. Tell us a little. How can you help house cleaning companies? With their hiring and recruiting and, other services that you offer as well.
Cheryl and Brian, I'm going to let you run with this because you're touching this every day.
Well, I'll start and then I will let Brian talk. He teases and says I never let him talk, but I do. We can do as little of what you would need or as much as what you would need someone to do. So we can help you write job descriptions. We can help you write job ad text. We can place ads if you just want that and that's all you want. That's cool. We can do that. If you want us to place the ads, but maybe you want to review everybody and you don't want us to talk to anybody, you just want us to place ads for you and send all the candidates your way, we can do that too. If you want us to do all of everything I just said, as well as screen everybody, get the best candidates to you, and then send like the top 2 to 3 people, we can do that as well. We can also set up interviews. We can do offer letters. We can do reference checks. We can do background checks. We can do all of it. We can, like I said, we call that the soup to nuts. We can do all of everything or as little as you need someone to do. We are very good at hiring. We understand that you business owners do not have a lot of time to spend looking through the 300 resumes you're going to get, especially for unqualified people. You're going to, maybe 100 people are going to be unqualified right off the bat, right? You don't have time to go through every one of them and look at them. We can write ads that purposely try to grab the attention of the type of people we are absolutely looking for, like the kind of employee you would like. Jason is really, really good at that. A lot of Kolbe stuff comes into play. I don't know if he's talked about Kolbe, but he probably will in about 2 minutes. But there are a lot of ways we can help you go about trying to find the right person to get the right person in the right seat on your bus, which is your company. And now Brian, fill in what I missed.
No, I think you're very thorough as always, which is great. And yeah, I mean, I just today was issuing Kolbe's, and I'll let Jason jump into that a lot deeper, but we're geared to help. That's really Jason's motive. And for everyone listening, I've known Jason longer than anyone on this call, and his motivation is to help. We are not after really anything else. We succeed when we help a small business succeed.
Brian, were you guys like in the landscape business together? Were you with him back?
Even further back.
Oh, okay.
Even before that.
You guys ride the school bus together?
Sorta, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't, because I lived out in the country. But yeah, known each other since sixth grade, which was a few years ago, and
Okay.
I've been very close ever since. My best friend officiated my wedding. But yeah, which is another dynamic all by itself, which we navigate, I think, pretty well. So, but yeah, I mean, I've learned a ton from him, and hopefully he's learned some from me.
Yeah.
So from a recruiting standpoint, is this like technician level jobs you're recruiting for? Is it all more for like admin and management? What is the scope from an organization standpoint?
The scope is director of operations to really all points in between, depending on the model. But yeah, admin for sure, labor some, and it's a pretty wide scope. But yeah, we see a lot of resumes daily.
So it sounds like that the admin side and the office side and the management side, I mean, those are leverage positions. I mean, every job's important, but those are harder positions to fill. A lot of times, or at least fill it with the right candidate. Mm-hmm. You can hire people, but maybe not. And making the wrong hire in some of those positions can be very expensive.
Right.
So if you're trying to hire a manager, you guys can help with that.
Oh yes, I would say that primarily that is where we're the best at, is because, like you said, it may not be cost effective for you or someone to hire a company such as ours to hire field labor or the entry level person, let's say, in your company. It just may not make sense, right? Mm-hmm. But to have somebody who you need an administrative assistant or a customer service rep or a salesperson or a manager or even a director or ops manager or general manager or like VP level, we can hire all of that realm. It's not that we couldn't hire your labor people. It just may not make sense for you or anyone else, depending on your financial situation. It might not be as cost effective as it would be for you to do the majority of the hiring. That doesn't mean we couldn't maybe help you write ads, but for us to place ads and just pull soup to nuts, it may not be the most cost effective. Am I right, Jason? What do you think about what I'm saying?
Well, I would say absolutely all of those positions: sales, operations, office admin, bookkeeping, customer service, all of that are positions we hire every single day. I would say that the more specific technicians, Tom, mm-hmm. we have the ability to hire. But Cheryl's point is that sometimes the platforms that we do the advertising on, it can get a little costly, and you've got to pay to play in those spaces. So sometimes when people come to us, it's just not something they want to invest in, but we could do it depending on what the position is in the company and where they're located. It'd probably be a one-off for us, but we definitely could do it just depending on a couple of those factors.
But, I hear this all the time. I'm looking for an office manager, an operations manager, and, I just can't, I hire people and it doesn't work out right. And I just can't, find the right person. This is what you guys do.
We just made an office, an operations manager hire yesterday. So that's something we do every single day. Review resumes and whatnot for those critical management positions. We'd be happy to talk to anybody about that process.
So you've mentioned Kolbe a couple times here, and I know that we've touched upon it and some of the prior visits to Smart Business Moves. And the 3 minutes we have left, Jason, sorry, can you kind of give us a thumbnail of what Kolbe is and how that can be helpful in finding the right candidate?
Absolutely, yeah. So I've been Kolbe certified for almost 17 years. And Kolbe is an assessment tool. It's an index that measures a person's natural instincts. Doesn't measure personality or skill. It measures somebody's natural instincts. And those natural instincts allow us, they don't change over time, so they allow us to be very predictable and very reliable in assessing the way that either a current team member or a potential candidate would be in decision making, problem solving, communication, kind of completing the work process, the work task. What is it that they do? The path, the road, the map that they're going to go down to accomplish a task that they're going to be faced with every single day in their position. On the existing team member, that's called issuing a Kolbe A and doing a team success and all those different things. On a hire, we use what's called Kolbe Right Fit, where we assess what the position needs, and then we plug candidates into that. And Kolbe Right Fit will give us a grade of A through F about whether or not they have the instinctive ability and drive and energy to do the job. It's not an automatic hire if somebody gets an A, because we need to make sure they have the skill and the culture to attach to it. But Kolbe is a great tool. We've issued thousands upon thousands of Kolbes over the last 17 years, and it's a tool that almost all of our clients are using in building the team, retaining the team, working through concerns that exist in the team, and more so in recent times, on the hiring side as well. And so that's a tool that we use every single day in our business in a variety of different ways with our clients.
So, for most things in life, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And for most of us who are running like house cleaning businesses, we don't get many opportunities to hire, these leverage positions, office managers and operations managers and positions like that. So it's not surprising to me, just thinking about it and talking to you, why we oftentimes mess it up. We just don't have a lot of practice at it.
Sure.
If you're doing it on a regular basis, if you're doing it every day, and you've got these tools that you can use to make better decisions, you guys are going to do a better job.
Totally agree 110%. And that's why I say hiring is a full-time job. There needs to be strategy behind it. And we need to make sure that that is top of mind and we're doing it to the best that we possibly can every single day, because we're going to get better at it for sure. 110%.
Well, Jason, I dropped the link to your website in chat. I'm assuming if anybody wants to know more about, the services you offer and how you can help them, they just go to your website and reach out that way.
Absolutely. Just hit the contact, throw an email in there. Those emails come directly to me, and I will kind of push them to Cheryl or Brian or someone else to take care of it, or myself if it's something for me. So that's the best way to do it. Email is kind of our lifeblood in the way that we communicate every single day. As you know, Tom, when we are communicating about coming on Smart Business Moves, we're emailing back and forth and whatnot. So email is the best, and you can get those email addresses and everything on our website.
Well, Brian, it's good to see you again. Cheryl, it's nice meeting you. Jason, as always, your help is much appreciated. You're an awesome guest, and you do important work, and we appreciate you sharing a little bit, some tips and information that can help all of us do a better job in these very trying, labor market times. We are at the top of the hour. Any last thoughts? Any last thoughts, Jason?
No, I just to everyone's success. I mean, I always say that you got to have a great product. You got to have great processes within that product. You have to have great people behind that product. And if you do that, you're going to have great profit. And so people is such a great part of it. And I hope that today's hour that we all spent together, was an investment in everybody that's watching people, because that's important.
Yeah. And if you're trying to fix some things in your business, especially, hiring, leadership in your organization, you might want to talk to Jason a little bit. He's got some ways that he could definitely help you. Jason, Brian, Cheryl, again, thanks a whole lot. Appreciate you being here. We'll be back next Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern, for Smart Business Moves. Until then, take care.
Take
Thank
care. Be
you.
good, everybody. Bye-bye.